Just because evidence shows lots of people do it, Joe Swinson, doesn't mean there's not other evidence to show that it's incredibly damaging. For example, you're 3 times more likely to develop schizophrenia if you smoke marijuana, and 1 in 6 teenage users will become addicted to marijuana. Don't worry, though. Jo Swinson reckons her marijuana legalisation will raise £1.5 billion. But what about the social cost of such an idiotic decision? So you say you've never used marijuana yourself?
No, I haven't.
Were you embarrassed with Jo Swinson's giggly revelation on Newsnight this week about her university use of marijuana?
It's a very honest approach, rather than saying I'm not going to answer that question. No, I wasn't embarrassed. I've just met Jo early in Sheffield.
And?
I'm pretty proud of her, Jo, as our leader. She's standing out in terms of from the other 2 candidates that are vying to be Prime Minister in terms of Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn.
You know your poll rating is plummeting and has been plummeting throughout the campaign. She's doing a terrible job, according to the polls.
No. Compared to 2017, where we're on 7.5%, I think we're doing pretty well. And you only have to look at the mayor's election in the Europeans, where we actually got 16 MEPs compared to the Labour Party with 10.
You did great. You did incredibly. That's been the fascinating thing. The Lib Dems did so well at the local elections, so well at the European elections, and over the course of... And by the way, remember, that's when you had your old leader, Vince Cable, and I said to Vince Cable at the time, why the heck are you going? You're doing so well in the polls. You've been so successful. All of a sudden, Jo Swinson's come in. The public have got to know her. And I'm just stating the facts.
Swinson's not just come in.
The poll ratings are plummeting.
No, they're not. Jo Swinson.
Well, they're the lowest they have been in 6 months.
Look, there's going to be polls that go up and down, but the real poll will be in the 12th.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident.
Final question. Can Jo Swinson still be Prime Minister, Shafak Mohammed?
Absolutely. If people vote, if people want change and they want something different, the Lib Dems are there on offer. And if they want to see Jo Swinson as Prime Minister, they've got to vote for it.
Well, at least we know you're not under the influence of any weed.
I can't understand why it's not already legal.
Why?
It's got less of effect on you than alcohol and smoking, just smoking tobacco in general.
Well, that's debatable, but I understand that argument. But I guess what I say, John, is that I find a great irony in the fact that you look at how anti-smoking we have become as a society, and we're moving away from smoking. People are trying to get smoking illegal at some point in the future, and I know some countries have actually announced an intention to do that in the future, while at the same time we're talking about doing the opposite with marijuana. It just doesn't make sense. 2 wrongs don't make a right for me. Just because alcohol is bad and smoking is bad, it doesn't mean that we should create another big problem for ourselves by legalizing marijuana.
Well, let me just put this to you. We're all adults.
Yes.
Should we not have the freedom to choose ourselves?
Well, do you want heroin to be legal? Do you want cocaine to be sold at Boots? Do you want ecstasy tablets to be available in your local Superdrug?
We're not talking about that.
I don't.
You don't. That's fair enough, but I'm saying we're not talking about that. My view is that marijuana is not a drug. Ecstasy has gone through a process. Cocaine has gone through a process. I don't know much about heroin, but I believe
this is the whole thing about the fact that marijuana is natural. You think it makes a difference because it is a natural product.
Yeah, and also I believe that when you look at the the ancient societies, there's proof of them using marijuana. So I believe, you've got CBD receptors in the body. So the body is designed to take in CBD, which is in cannabis. You can't argue with that. That is fact. Why would we have CBD receptors if we weren't supposed to take it?
But do you not understand that there is evidence to show mental health problems? I've seen it in my own life. You see, that's the thing. I've seen people in my own life, John, whose lives have been ruined by marijuana. And that is a fact. So in my life, I've seen it. And then I look at the statistics, and the statistics prove that mental health issues are seriously increased amongst people, especially teenagers, that smoke marijuana. So, I mean,
you have an unregulated
I can't believe it is a
product
totally natural thing.
Of course it is. But if you have an unregulated product into society, how then can you get statistics from that? Like, solid statistics when you're using something that's unregulated. Something that's everyone is, all through the country is getting different stuff.
Well,
there's different outcomes everywhere.
But is that saying that you would need to legalise heroin or cocaine before you were able to properly analyse the statistics about how damaging those drugs are? I just don't buy your argument. I don't think the logic follows.
Well, I don't want to talk about too much about the hard stuff because I don't go anywhere near it. I just want.
I mean, look, if people want to get marijuana, but here's the thing, John. If people want to get marijuana, they're going to be able to get it. Okay, we know that. If people want it, they're going to get it. Why should we make it easy to encourage a whole new generation of people to go into Boots, to go into Tesco, to hand over the £5 and to get your joint? I just don't think it's going to improve society. I'm sorry.
Well, if you look in Canada, I believe, since they've embraced legalisation, the young folk just ain't interested. There's not that lure to it because it's legal. You can just get it. So, growing up.
Well, I need to have a look at the stats. I'll need to have a look at the stats because I find it hard to believe.
And then I got to 18 and I started going to the pub. And then after a while, I just realised there's nothing in it. The excitement was the sneaking about, the illegal side of it. Once it was legal, it was,
Well, yeah, but again, John, by following that argument, though, of course you can, John, but just one thing I'd say, by following that argument, then if marijuana was legal, then teenagers would be even more determined to sneak around to try something harder and illegal, like ecstasy or MDMA or some type of other drug. But yes, John, what did you want to say?
Well, possibly, you're right there, yes. But the thing is, these things are out there. And like you've had previous callers, you're not going to stop people taking them. I'm not saying that we should all just be like, oh, you know what, never mind, let's all just get high all the time. I'm not saying that's what we should do. But people are going to do this anyway. So I'm not saying allow them, but, why, when I was 16 when I started, but why should I have to risk my future to buy a bit of a plant?
Well, fair point. Angela, do you agree with me? Come on, someone's got to agree with me on this.
No, I don't agree with you. I grow my own plants. Not a huge amount, I should say. I'm not selling it, just for my own use.
Okay.
And I didn't smoke it when I was younger, but I'm a 53-year-old woman.
Yes.
Own my own house. And I just, in the evening, I just like to have a little smoke. Even
though it's potentially going to cause mental health problems and even though it's against the law?
Well, yeah, I know it's against the law, but I'm not hurting anyone because I'm not going... I could...
No, and you're not, Angela. No. And actually, what I would say to you, right, is you've done that. You've been able to do that, okay? No one's going to come after you. You're not going to get in trouble. The police aren't going to bother you. But why do we have to take it to the next step? Why do we have to start selling this stuff in Boots and Tesco's to potentially very vulnerable young people? Well, that is the reality, though. That's what Joe Swinson wants to do.
But don't you think if it wasn't illegal, that some younger children wouldn't smoke it? Because I think it's the feeling that they're doing something against the law.
Some, but many would start. Because, for example, there are also a lot of people who are put off doing it because it's illegal. And to be honest, the fact that smoking and alcohol is legal has certainly not made it less attractive for young people to try.
Well, I've got an alcoholic brother-in-law.
Yes.
And he's got terrible mental issues through alcohol. And I just feel that because the politicians all like a drink, that's not made illegal.
Whereas Joe Swinson, she's loving the wacky backy at university, she says.
Yeah, well, I didn't smoke it when I was younger. I've tried
You're
alcohol.
Making up for lost time.
Just because I've tried alcohol and I don't like the way it makes me feel in the morning. It doesn't make me relaxed. It doesn't make me so... I'm happy. And if you went
But the thing is, I'm not
people...
judging you, Angela. People can make their own decisions, okay?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that I believe we are going to open up a whole load more social problems by making marijuana legal, by having it on sale in Tesco.
But you can get it anywhere. I mean, I could pick up the phone now and go and get some.
I couldn't. There's absolutely no way I could get it. I'd had to have no idea where to start. I wouldn't know who to ask. I wouldn't know who to call. I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, I went to McDonald's the other day, and the children outside were smoking it. You could smell it.
No, I do smell it, actually, when I'm walking about.
Yeah, you can smell it. You can get it anywhere. If you really wanted it, you could go out and find it.
I'm sure I could. I'm absolutely sure I could. So that's why I think there's even less reason to make it legal.
Yeah, but smoking's worse. I mean, I just smoke a pipe.
Totally.
I've got no tobacco.
And I hate smoking, and this is one of the big ironies that I find, because at the same time that we're moving towards making smoking illegal, we're moving towards making marijuana legal. But I think you've made good points, Angela. Thank you. That's Angela in Wiltshire. Alan is in Birmingham. Alan, what do you think?
I absolutely think it should be legalised. Prohibition criminalises a significant proportion of the population in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It puts otherwise law-abiding people in contact with criminals. As a result of the illicit production, you've got problems around human trafficking and modern slavery. As a result of it being criminalised, you've also got no regulatory control over the strength. So over the last 40, 50 years, the amount of THC, which is really what's causing the issues around schizophrenia, has increased dramatically. And nobody's suggesting that the product that you legalise and make available to the public has to be exactly the same product that is available through the illegal supply chain today. I actually think Joe's estimates of 1.5 billion of tax revenues is probably quite conservative. If you look at the cost of cannabis in the US, on a trade basis, it's $100 per pound, whereas in the UK, you're looking at about £170 per ounce.
What about the cost to our health system? What about the cost to the NHS of all of the mental health problems that smoking marijuana causes young people? I reckon that will end up being more than 1.45 billion.
No, I think, the studies that have been, what's happened in Portugal has kind of proved that that's not the case with decriminalisation. You're able to reinvest all of the money that you would otherwise be spending on the criminal justice system, as well as...
But that's not how it works, though, is it, Alan? It would just go into the pot, so to speak. Just go into a big old spending pot. I mean, look, all I'm saying is I have looked at this, because I've seen... So number one, I've seen this in my life, right? I've seen this in my life. I've seen people who are very close to me have their life destroyed because they became addicted to marijuana.
Absolutely. I've seen people who've been sectioned as a result of the schizophrenia that they've developed.
Yes.
But
so
again,
why on earth do we want to sell this thing in
the
the damn supermarket? You're three times more likely to develop schizophrenia if you smoke weed. 1 in 6 teenagers users will become addictive. 10% of users will get addicted to cannabis. That's according to the NHS. There's even evidence now to say it can increase the risk of slow-growing testicular cancer. Why on earth do we want to sell this stuff in Tesco?
You spend that money on drugs education, and you don't have to sell it in Tesco's, right? I mean, one of the things that I'm absolutely not advocating... Wants. Well, I mean, that's taking it to a slightly absurd degree if that's specifically what she's come out and said.
She wants it sold over the counter.
Yeah, but in
That's what she said in her famous interview on Newsnight, when she also said that she loved it at university, which many people don't believe.
I didn't catch that one, to be honest. But... at a pretty fundamental level, you don't. One of the things that I would object strongly to is this being production and marketing being done through the private sector. I think this is absolutely something that should be controlled by governments. That enables price control. It enables strength control. It enables you to make sure that children aren't being deliberately targeted with advertising in the way that vaping has been, in the way that cigarettes were. So in a much more of a Canadian-style system. But you look at what's happened in Portugal, where they've decriminalised not only cannabis, but also stuff like heroin, which has enabled them to, as I said, significantly reduce the expenditure in the criminal justice system.
I think it's madness. But thank you for your call, Alan.